Good afternoon and greetings, everybody. I hope that you are enjoying your Christmas holidays and have enjoyed them so far. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So this is the show that I do every Wednesday night called Wednesday Night Favorites, or just Favorites if you prefer. And it's what I usually do a list of some kind. In fact, I always do a list of some kinds, usually my 5 favorite of this, or my 25 favorite that, or my 10 favorite this, or maybe I rank some albums, or there's different things I like to do here. So this week we're coming to the end of the year, and I've decided to do my 10 favorite albums for 2023. Yeah, for this year. All this stuff came off of my What's New collection videos that I do every Thursday. I've taken my 10 favorite albums from that and put them on a list. This was actually harder than I thought, because I felt like I kind of screwed up earlier on when I started this. I wasn't sure how I wanted to run it. I was going to try to do everything at once on one show for a month, and I think that wasn't working out, so I decided to do this kind of one-off type thing where I would do a video. I figured I could do 3 or 4 a week. That didn't really work out. Eventually, I put this on a regular rotation on a Tuesday night, rotating bi-weekly with another show. But I just found that I wasn't getting enough of the material in there. So then I decided to give this show a life of its own, and I put it on Thursdays. And first of all, it started on Tuesdays, but it's moved to Thursdays now. And I do an episode every week of a new album that's come out in 2023. And I feel much better about that. I think that's gone a lot better. It means I get a regular chance to view new stuff, which is always important, because, the main reason I still want to listen to newer stuff that has come out is because a lot of these legacy bands are going to be gone. They're all getting really old. Some of them are going to retire. Some of them are going to pass away and stuff like that. And you have to, if you want to stay listening to current stuff, you have to be able to listen to a lot of newer stuff as well. This year was a bit, I don't know if it was an unusual year, because it's really my first year doing this. I did one last year, but this was kind of the first year I really did it. And I was surprised how many legacy bands are still having pretty strong albums, and a couple of them came out after years of not having anything. But anyways, so I've taken my 10 favorite bands from that series of videos that I do, and I rank them according to how I like them best, going from my worst or the least favorite, because none of these are bad. They're all really good. In fact, they squeezed out really good albums. So going from my least, or 10th, all the way to my favorite, or number 1. Number 1 was tough, because I alternated between 3 albums, and I just kept saying, no, that one's got to be it. No, this one's got to be it. And eventually I settled on the order that I have for today. And even now I'm not 100% comfortable with it, but that's the way we're going to do it. So I have 5 of these 10 albums. I own them. I've looked for the others. One of them actually could have bought last week, but the price was too steep, and so I have to maybe wait till it comes down a bit. But it's definitely all 5 of the albums that I didn't buy are all on my list to buy. I highly recommend them all. Okay, so, and at the end I will also give you an honorable mentions of about 4 albums from the year that I think deserve to be recognized. May even mention a couple of the more recent videos I've done, because those albums haven't got as fair a shake of the deal, because I didn't review them until really late in the year. So let's get underway with it now. So coming in at number 10 is an album from a heavy metal band, Raven's Edge. The album is called Blood Omen. I like this a lot. I think it's a solid album, and one of the first real heavy metal albums from the modern kind of era, which is modern because it came out this year, that I really liked a lot. And there was a couple of others that just were near misses, but I'll get to the near misses at the end. but this one was the one that got on, and I think it's a excellent album. I think just really, really solid stuff on it. So number 10, Raven's Edge, Blood Omen. Number 9 is from an artist that I didn't really follow much. I've never really followed the band much. I did like a couple of their tracks. I did like a couple of their albums a little bit when I was younger, but I never really pursued them too much because there was always something I liked more. But this album I liked quite a bit. I think it was well put together and pretty solid album. It's called Bridges, and it's from Steve Lukather of Toto. Yeah, he's on everything though, really, isn't he? Yeah, so excellent album. Surprisingly good for me. I wasn't sure what was going to happen when I listened to it, but I actually liked it. So not every track on it, but I did like enough of it to warrant it getting placed here at number 9. Number 8 is an album I've only listened to once, but from one of my favorite artists, from an artist that is in my group of 8. And I didn't buy the album because they wanted $35 for it. I'm not paying that for a CD, not doing it. I'll wait. It'll probably be in a year or so. It'll probably be like 15 or 20, and then I'll buy it. And that's the I.O. album from Peter Gabriel. I think this is a really good album. It gives you a couple of different versions of the album, different recorded the bright side, and then they had the dark side, which were both very different. They both accentuated certain different aspects of the album quite a bit. The songs were good, especially the first half of the album. I think the first 3 or 4 songs I thought were excellent songs. Peter Gabriel's voice sounds perfect. Surprisingly so good for somebody at his age group, but he has taken care of himself. So, and the vocals on this, his vocals on this are really crisp and clear. Yeah, just a lot of really good stuff on this album. Definitely one I have to have. Comes in at number 8 only because I've only listened to it once, so it hasn't had a lot of time to develop. Probably if it developed more, it would probably be much higher, but on the list nevertheless. Number 7 is the first one that I actually have this was one of the first ones I actually bought this year. This is a solid album, Rock Float from Jethro Tull. I don't think it's as good as his predecessor, as the Zealot Gene. I think this one overall, the songs are good, are solid all the way through. There's no really standout tracks here. I found on Zealot Gene the first 3 or 4 songs were really good, and the top couple were standouts. This doesn't really have that much of a greatness to it, but the songs overall are really consistently good. I think they were written in the range for his voice. Now his voice isn't what it once was, hasn't been, wasn't on the last album either, but the music is written to fit his voice, which then makes it sound good. Some people really detest his voice now. I hear people saying this is a shit album, he should just quit and stuff like that, but I don't feel that way about it. I didn't feel that way about the Zealot Gene. I don't feel that way about this one. I just don't think this one is quite as good as the Zealot Gene, for my money, but still really good album. Comes in number 7. Number 6, I initially liked it quite a bit. Faded a little bit, but it's still on my playlist. It could come back a little bit. I still play it quite a bit. Much better than the predecessor for it, than the album that came out prior to this one. The only thing I would say is it's kind of similar as it was with Jethro Tull. There was one track on that last album I thought was better than anything on here. In fact, I thought it was a great song, and if they'd done more like that, I'd be happy, but they only did the one track. And so this album, though, is probably better overall sounding. It's got more that I like to it. One of their better efforts over the last decade or so. Album cover is always, even on their crappy albums, they still have excellent album covers. This one is no exception to that rule. Just really good. It's a double disc again. I'm not sure why they keep doing that. They could easily put all these on one disc, but they, for some reason, I think the record label wanted them to on 2 discs, so it's on 2 discs. But still, excellent album. Got a nice little book in it as well. I love the whole color theme, the blue theme. Yeah, fantastic album. This is number 6 for the year. So number 5 I do not have. I've looked for it. I haven't even actually seen it, to be honest with you. I listened to it a couple of times early on, and I've listened to it a couple times since, even though I generally never listen to the music on the internet at all. But because I don't have it yet, I've been trying to listen to it a little more. And I really didn't care much for this band initially, because I don't generally like female vocals in my progressive rock, but there are some exceptions to it, and this is one of them. The band is called Solstice. The album is Light Up. This is a really good album, much better than I originally had thought it was going to be, enough that it makes the top 5 here. So Solstice, Light Up, number 5. Number 4, this is an album from a band that people have been pushing me to listen to. They came out with an album this year, so I thought this is the perfect opportunity to get into this band and listen to them. I was pleasantly surprised with everything I heard. Yes, they have that kind of Led Zeppelin sound to them, but they also have their own sound. The vocalist is quite good. I think the music is really good. It's in that range that I like quite a bit. Starcatcher is the name of the album by Greta Van Fleet. This is going to be number 4. Strong album. I look forward to going back and listen to their other albums that they have in their discography. But this one came number 4 this year. Fantastic album. Okay, so the next 3 are, without a doubt, were clearly the best 3 albums for me this year. Wasn't sure how they were going to go. I've had them all flipped around at times, and then I decided to go with my initial gut and the album that's done the best for me for this year. So coming in at number 3, though, from a legendary band for which I never thought I would hear another album from, especially at their advanced age. But this one, when it came out, I thought, okay, this is going to be hard to listen to, but this is a great album. Hackney Diamonds, Rolling Stones. The tracks I liked initially, like the opening track, Angry. I'm going to get my glasses so I can see the track list. Yeah, Angry. Thought it was a good opening kind of lead-off single for them. Pretty solid. The drums are maybe not so great, but overall, great track. Bite My Head Off was the other one I liked quite a bit on here when it first came out. Any song that has Paul McCartney wailing on the bass, you gotta like that. Get Close is good too, but I've now kind of moved to Mess It Up and Live by the Sword. I think those 2 songs are really catchy. I really like them a lot. Some of the tracks towards the end I'm not so crazy about, like the Rolling Stones Blues, that kind of Muddy Waters feel. It's okay, but I just not into it. And I didn't, even though Lady Gaga's on it, she sings brilliantly, and the song is fantastically written. I'm not a big fan of it either. But overall, Tell Me Straight's good. Driving Me Too Hard. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on this. It's not perfect. Maybe one of their better albums since the 70s, I think. Stands up there with Emotional Rescue and Start Me Up. I think it's in that group. Maybe a little better. Hard to say yet. It's still fairly new, but it comes in at number 3 here. Number 2. This is a band that I've been trying to get into over the last couple of years. I did like one of their albums quite a bit. The other couple of albums, one's currently on my playlist. The other one's waiting its turn. Both decent, good albums. A lot of people recommended them, so I'm giving them a chance. But I thought this was much better than any of them. Chaos and Order by Uriah Heep. This is a fantastic album, and I've only listened to it about 5 times. It's already up there, number 2. Probably could have won it if I'd bought it earlier and had more time to listen to it. Just like all the tracks on here are just really heavy, really crystal clear sounding. I thought the guitar is fantastic. The vocalist is fantastic. Overall, just a great album. I'm thinking this will grow and grow on me. Probably could have won this, given enough time, more time, easily, but comes in at number 2 today, which isn't bad. Really highly recommend you listen to this and give it a try. And the last one, which was the one I've had the longest and I've probably listened to the most, and there are some elements that I don't care about for it, but overall it's just a great album. ID Entity by Riverside. This is a Polish progressive rock band. Really good. The guitar is fantastic. The instrumentation and musicality of this album is fantastic. Even the cover's great, really. And a lot of their covers kind of look like this from what they told. I've gotten into this album. It's been on my playlist now for 5 months. At one point, it was probably my favorite album at the time. Yes, they've got some songs on here that are just absolutely killers. And even on it, because it's just kind of like the Yes album, it has a second disc. So you've got one disc with most of the songs, and then a second disc with like 4 songs. Easily, I don't know why they could have put it on one disc, but they didn't. But it's so good. The artwork is good. It's kind of obscure, kind of stuff like this, really good. And a lot of their stuff is like that. The only 2 issues I had with the album were the vocalist. I like his vocals, but at the same time, I don't like them. I don't even know if that makes any sense. There's parts of it I really like, but it sometimes sounds too high to me. And some of the lyrics are a little odd. They don't really flow really all that good, but a lot of the lyrics do well. But the guitar parts, drum parts, keyboard parts, instrumentation is just great. And so it's for me, that's the number 1 album of the year. For me, Riverside's ID Identity. And there may be other albums out there I hadn't listened to because, as I've said already, it took me a while to kind of organize this how I wanted to. If I'd done that at the beginning, I would have had 52 albums in instead of the 25 or so that I did do, which might have made a difference. But I didn't get to do that. But next year is another year, and we'll try and do a little bit more in depth on it. Anyways, so I'm just going to reiterate them, and then I'll talk about the ones that didn't quite make it, or the honorables. So number 1 was ID Entity by Riverside. Number 2, Uriah Heep's Chaos and Order. Sorry. Number 3, Hackney Diamonds by the Rolling Stones. Number 4, Starcatcher by Greta Van Fleet. Number 5, Light Up by Solstice. Number 6, Mirror to the Sky. It's not to the stars. Mirror to the Sky by Yes. Number 7, Rock Flout by Jethro Tull. Number 8, I.O. or I-O if you want to, /O if you want to do that, from Peter Gabriel. Number 9, Bridges from Steve Lukather. And number 10, Blood Omen from Raven's Edge. Now, some of the other albums that I considered possibly getting on here, and actually one of them I was like really close to putting it at number 10, which was Catatonia Sky and their Sky Full of Stars album, which came out early on for me. I had looked to purchase it. If I had purchased it, probably would have been different, because I know with me, if I own an album, they tend to do better than if I don't own them and have to listen to them on the internet, because I don't normally do that. The next one was Ladytron. This was another strong one for me. Their Times Arrow. I do kind of like this music. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe it's a guilty pleasure or something. I'm not really sure, but I do kind of like their music. I especially like it on the headphones, and I'm just lying there in the dark. It's really intricate, and I like that. Peace, the Fierce and the Dead, News from an Invisible World, was an album that was sent to me or asked. The group actually sent me an email asking me to review it, and I did. It's a solid album. If I actually had the album, it probably could have done better as well, but it gets an honorable mention here. I think it's one of the better albums that I reviewed this year. And the other one, Chrome Dreams from Neil Young. This probably would have done better. I do own it. The only reason that it didn't do as well as it could have made the list was because most of these songs are on other albums. So even though originally this was an album that was supposed to be released, and if it had been released, it probably would have been among my favorite Neil Young albums. But now, because it wasn't released, a lot of the tracks ended up on other albums, and so it feels more like a collection of greatest hits than it does of being a different album. That's unfortunate, but still, that collection is really good, and I wanted to give it a mention here. And then just a couple words on a couple of newer albums that I haven't really listened to all that much, so really can't say too much about them, but just wanted to give them a little bit of a heads up. And one of them was the Dirty Honey, Can't Find the Breaks. This is an album I'm doing this week. Tomorrow I'll be doing it. I've listened to it once. It's a good album. If I'd listened to it earlier on, probably might have made the honorable mentions as well. But I just wanted to make mention of it because of that. And the two King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard albums, Silver Cord being the one I like the most, but the other one, Petrodonical Apocalypse, both fairly decent albums as well. So there you have it. Those are the albums that I'm talking about for this year. There's others that were good. This is a good year for albums, I think. If you had told me this 10 years ago that I would be listening to brand new stuff by a lot of these bands in 2023, I would never have thought that possible. I didn't think there was enough out there to warrant doing a show like this. But now I've discovered that I need to do more of a show because there's too many of them and I can't keep up. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Favorites, my top 10 favorite albums from 2023 this year. And I hope we have a good Christmas and enjoy. I hope you had a good Christmas and have a good New Year. And we'll be back next year with another episode of What's New and another episode of Favorites. We will see you Wednesday. Take care. Bye.